It was a day when the rain fell lightly and gray clouds covered the sky. Fred and his family were driving home. The raindrops trickling down the windows looked like tears. People walked quickly down the streets, no one looking around, no one noticing life's little miracles in this rainy weather. But Fred's eyes were different. He was a little boy, his heart full of love and compassion. And at that moment he saw a scene that would change his life. There was a tiny, trembling dog by the side of the road. Its fur was soaking wet, its eyes wide and full of fear. At that moment, it was as if the whole world had fallen silent. Fred's eyes locked onto this poor dog. Its small body was trembling on the wet ground, looking as if it were saying, "Save me." Fred's heart tightened. An irresistible urge rose within him. He immediately turned to his mother and father. "Please, let's take him. He's so cold, so lonely." At first his mother and father were silent. His father gripped the steering wheel tightly, his mother took a deep breath. Because they knew, taking in a dog was not easy. It required responsibility, it required patience. "Our house is already full, maybe we can't take care of this dog," they said. But when they saw the tears in Fred's eyes, the trembling of his lips, how his heart ached, they couldn't resist. It was impossible to resist their child's pure love. Dad pulled the car over to the side of the road. Mom took off her jacket and wrapped it around the little dog. The dog was scared, trembling, but when Fred's little hand stroked its head, it calmed down. At that moment, an indescribable happiness blossomed inside Fred. Because he was no longer alone. When they got home, they realized the dog had a fever. It was weak and exhausted. They took it to the vet. The vet said, "It needs some rest, love, and trust." He gave them medicine. The little dog was wrapped in a warm blanket. At that moment, Fred snuggled up next to him and whispered, "You're not alone anymore. Your name is Coco." It was as if Coco understood those words. He wagged his tiny tail weakly. A small glimmer of hope replaced the fear in his eyes. At that moment, an invisible but very strong bond was formed between Fred and Coco. Days passed. Coco began to recover. The poor dog that had trembled in the rain was now the joy of the house. In Fred's room there were food bowls, toys, and colorful blankets that belonged to her. With his mother's permission, Fred even dressed Coco in his old baby clothes. Running around in little blue, red, and yellow dresses, Coco seemed to be laughing. Life had completely changed for Fred. When he opened his eyes in the morning, the first thing he saw was Coco. At breakfast, he would secretly pass her pieces of cheese and bread. They would run together in the garden and sleep together at night. As Fred fell into a deep sleep in his bed, Coco would curl up at his head and never take her eyes off him throughout the night. But this story was a miracle not only for Fred but also for Coco. Because Coco was a dog left alone in the rain, perhaps even abandoned. He was a puppy who had given up on life, trusting no one. But thanks to Fred, he had found love, trust, and happiness again. Now he too had a family. Over time, Fred and Coco became inseparable friends. They ate from the same bowl and slept on the same pillow. When Fred came home from school, Coco would be waiting at the door, wagging his tail as if to say, "Welcome home." When Fred was sad, Coco would rest his head on his lap and comfort him without saying a word. Because friendship is a bond stronger than words. Fred could no longer imagine life without Coco. And one day he said to his mother, "Mom, he's not just a dog. He's my brother." His mother smiled. Because Coco had truly become a member of that family. This journey, which began with a raindrop, had turned into a friendship that grew with the power of love. Coco and Fred's story reminds us that sometimes a small act of kindness can turn into a lifetime of happiness. A stray dog comes back to life only with love and trust. And the pure hearts of children can create the greatest miracles in the world. Fred and Coco's story was just such a miracle. They were no longer just a child and a dog. They were two souls whose hearts beat in unison.